Here in the Southwest Oregon District and really across ODF, we used to have manned lookout towers. And in 2006, that really started shifting to our detection system. We started putting in cameras, sometimes at those lookouts, sometimes on just higher mountaintops, to replace those. And what we found is it's actually much more effective to have the cameras. It's a little bit more cost effective as well. And it's something that really helps us not only detect fires first off before anyone can report them, but also confirm information for our firefighters and our partner agencies who are responding to those incidents. We have 15 different camera sites and 2 cameras at each site, so 30 cameras across the district. And what it does is it allows us to see those areas and monitor all those areas that it covers for fires. We have detection specialists who man that room. We have up to 4 detection specialists at a time at 4 different stations to be able to look through those cameras and see if they can find any smokes or confirm information for an active incident that's happening. A lot of times with our partner agencies, if they have vehicle fires or structure fires, our detection specialists will take a look in that area to see what they can see to provide them with more information before they even leave their stations. It's a very helpful resource that we have for not only the Southwest Oregon District, but for Southern Oregon and fire agencies in general. The way that the system works is it will go through and take a series of photos, and it'll play those photos back to back. And so you can see definite movement from those photos flipping back and forth. And that's how our detection specialists are able to capture smoke. They spend a lot of time training to be able to determine what's smoke and what's fog or dust that comes up. We do get a lot of reports of a fire and it's actually dust from a rock quarry. And so they can tell the difference between that and actually let our firefighters know, hey, this is probably what it is instead of a fire. It makes a big difference when we have lightning storms because we can look at those areas that were affected that had those strikes and be able to see where those fires are popping up, sometimes even minutes after the storms start. And so instead of, in the old days, having to send an engine to every single one of those reports of smoke, we can look at those areas on the cameras and see which ones are higher priorities and better prioritize our resources and responses.
I was hoping you could take me through the recent lightning storm, just kind of what it was like to be in that room, to hear the reports on the radio. Just take me through a particular, what a more chaotic time looks like.
Sure.
When the storms first come and when the fires start popping up and these folks start seeing them.
We started having thunderstorms on Thursday of last week into Friday, but the really big system that came through was on Sunday. And a lot of times when we have thunderstorms, you'll find all of our overhead personnel in there because you can listen to the radios and hear what's going on. You can see on the cameras where we're seeing smoke and even some of those lightning strikes. And it's a really good place to be to get that pulse of information because everything does flow through there. When we had those thunderstorms coming through on Sunday, even within the first couple minutes of those strikes happening, our detection specialists were finding smokes almost immediately, sometimes one right after the other, sometimes a couple simultaneously in the same area. So it's very interesting to be able to see those strikes happen in those areas and then see the direct result of those fires starting. That's very typical. It gets a little bit noisy because we're listening to the radio traffic, we're listening to the firefighters who are out there trying to make their way to those areas, and also just seeing the smokes that are popping up on the cameras and trying to figure out exactly where they are. We can get a latitude and longitude from the system that we use, and so our specialists will actually get on the radio and tell our firefighters where those are in those areas. And in some cases, we've been close to even just feet away from the exact location. For our detection center, we have a manager who oversees the whole center, as well as 4 to 5 detection specialists who rotate in to watch those cameras and see what's going on. On a typical day, we have 2 to 3 detection specialists. Now that we've been having these thunderstorms, we've actually been fully staffing it up to 4 people every day. When we cancel days off for firefighters because we have a lot of active incidents, we also cancel days off for our dispatchers and our detection specialists, and it really is all hands on deck. And since the thunderstorms we've been having, that is how we've been operating, and it's been helping us not only to catch more incidents, but to be more thorough and just make sure that we're on top of everything that's happening across our district. Traditional lookouts were a great resource for us before we had this technology. Now that we have this technology, not only are we able to pinpoint latitude and longitude and exact location of fires through this system, but it records that, and so we have it on video that we can play back. We can look back and see the history of an incident and see how it grows over time. We can share that with our partner agencies, and they can see exactly what's going on, and it just gives us a better idea of what our firefighters are going into, and so we can better prioritize the resources that we need. Traditional lookouts were a great option for what we had at the time, but now that we have this technology, you can't replace that. Our goal is to continue building up this system and adding more camera sites as we can. It does get a little bit expensive, and so it's been a project that's been happening over time, but it is a priority, and it's something that, because it not only helps our firefighters and our partner agencies, it's something that we see as being very important and something that we're going to continue to work on.